released in 9.3 version, text layers are a feature that will greatly improve your creative workflow. You can forget the legacy over-consuming 2D text layer and discover this very new way to create and edit text for real time. Create a new composition and add a text layer. The very first thing you need to know is that you can switch to edit mode in order to type or erase the text directly inside the viewport. Select a text layer to access to its parameter. In the generator parameters, you obviously have the possibility to change the content of the text, but also the font. There is two ways to load a different font, represented by the type parameter. Select name will look at the font installed on your computer. Select file lets you drag and drop a font from a media directory. Very convenient when your creation needs to be loaded and broadcast on a different machine. As you can see below, 4 different paths are displayed. One for the regular, one for bold, one for italic, and the last one for bold italic. It means that if your text needs to be bold, the font used will be the one filled by the bold option. Here my regular font is this one, but if I check the bold option, the text loads another font. In the style category, you'll find options to change the kerning, the skew of the letters, the color of the text, its background, underline, overline, or strike-through. Let's have a look to the renderer option. In those parameters, you'll have the possibility to change the element, justify the text, or change the leading. The size category gives you the possibility to change the box that contains the text. If it is in auto, adding some characters will automatically increase the bounding box of the text. Then you can create a link from those values to have a custom background made by Compose or other layers. But width can be switched to word wrap. Change the size of the box and Smod will break the line at some words. Shrink to fit mode modifies the width of every character of the text regarding of the width of the box. 8 parameters can be automatic or clamp. As I said previously, this text layer is faster to render than the 2D text layer or shape text layer. This optimization is allowed because the characters typed once are stored inside an atlas. To see it more clearly, we have the possibility to display this atlas of a text layer. Go to Renderer in Advanced mode and check Show Atlas Texture. This is a view of the atlas. Let me just erase the content of my text layer and clear the atlas. The atlas saved every characters and fonts variation made. A variation is saved once for all. Instead of having to trace the characters at each frame, the engine only needs to load the associated characters, which is much more lighter. Text layers have of course their own modifier and mask. Let's start with the different type of masks. To illustrate them, I will simply type this text and add an attribute, color modifier in red for the background of my text. Right-click over a text modifier to access the different type of masks. The very first one we will see is the character mask. This mask modulates the intensity of the modifier depending on specific character. That can be the digits, so every numbers will be affected, lowercase letters, uppercase letters, white spaces, dots, punctuation, or custom characters. The mask word lets you type a specific word that needs to be impacted by the modifier. You can increase the tolerance of caps by changing the mode in your case. For those of you who have some development skills, it is also possible to add regular expressions inside this mask. Another mask is the random one. It randomly applied more or less the modifier on letters. The last mask is the range one. It works with a very well-known concept in SMOD, which is function. The range mask will modulate the intensity of the modifier across a function. As you can see, my function here is in linear. So the modifier is at 0 intensity at the very first character, and at the end, it's at 100%. By default, the function is calculated through the number of characters. This can be customized in the general and level parameters. This modulates the modifier through words, sentences, or lines. Change the type to switch from relative calculation to absolute. This lets you select a range of characters more precisely. A quick tip is that if you select a part of the text in the viewport and right-click on it, you can create a mask directly on the selected modifier in the element tree. Another way to change the colors of the text is to use color gradient modifier. It will apply a gradient of colors through a specific function. Text modifiers enables a lot of different things. You can, for example, render a part of a text in bold. Keep in mind that it will simply choose the font field in the bold parameter of the text layers. Same for italic modifier. You can modify the opacity, change the placement of the characters thanks to the 2D transform, capitalize the entire text or a part of it, offset the characters to create some glitch apparition, for example, and even change the font for another one. The operators text modifiers are mostly for adding or removing characters to the text layer. Use the append modifier to add a text at the end or the beginning of the text. You can customize the font of the appended text. Insert modifier is very useful to add characters that surround the word. For example, quotes. Add a mask over this modifier and choose the range of words you want to surround. Repeat modifier simply repeats the text. With the separators parameters, you can change the way the next occurrence will be placed. The select modifier won't do anything instead if it has a mask. It simply clamps the text depending on the selection of the associated mask. This introduction of the text layers ends here. Don't forget that the documentation is available online and can be installed on SMOD. It contains a lot of information to go further. Some tutorials are already available and explain you how to create ticker or display a timecode, for example.